The lights dim gently. Welcome to the dimmed light. There's nowhere to go, nothing you need to do. Just stay in this moment and let the calm carry you. And our journey is quietly beginning. The night has settled over the world, not with a sudden fall of darkness, but with a slow, deliberate deepening of the blue. It is the hour when the sky loses its last memory of the sun. Above, the expanse is clear, a vast and silent dome of obsidian stretched tight from horizon to horizon. There are stars, countless and distant, piercing the blackness with a cold, unblinking light. They do not twinkle, the air is too still for that. They simply exist, frozen in their places, watching over the sleeping earth below. The moon is high, a perfect circle of pale silver, casting a long, spectral glow across the landscape. Its light does not offer warmth. Instead, it seems to sharpen the cold, giving the frost a glittering, diamond-like quality. The world below is washed in this monochrome light, stripped of all color, reduced to shades of gray-white and deep shadow. Here, on the stone rampart, the air is heavy. It is a physical weight pressing against the skin, dense and unmoving. There is no wind to stir the banners or rustle the trees. The silence is absolute, a thick blanket that muffles thought and slows the pulse. The stone underfoot is solid, ancient, and deeply cold. It has absorbed the chill of 1,000 winters, holding it within its core, radiating a quiet freeze that seeps through the soles of thick leather boots. A man stands there, a solitary figure etched against the pale sky. He is wrapped in layers of wool and leather, a bulky silhouette in the moonlight. He does not move. Movement requires energy, and the night demands conservation. His breath is the only sign of life in this frozen tableau. With every exhalation, a cloud of white mist escapes his lips. It drifts out slowly, a ghost of warmth, curling lazily in the stagnant air. The mist hangs there for a moment, suspended in the moonlight before it dissolves into nothingness. In and out. The rhythm is slow, steady, like the ticking of a very old clock. The air he breathes in is sharp. It tastes of ice and iron. It travels down his throat, cooling his chest from the inside, a reminder of the winter that surrounds him. His eyes, half-lidded and weary, scan the horizon, but there is nothing to see but the snow. The snow covers everything. It lies heavy on the fields, smoothing out the furrows of the earth. It caps the distant hills, making them look like slumbering giants under white sheets. It clings to the branches of the trees in the forest below, weighing them down until they bow towards the ground. The forest is a wall of darkness at the edge of the visual field. The trees stand close together, their trunks black pillars against the white ground. There is no sound from the woods. No bird calls, no rustle of small animals, no creak of timber. The sap has slowed in the veins of the trees. waiting for a spring that feels an eternity away. The watchman shifts his weight, a movement so slight it is barely perceptible. The leather of his belt creaks, a dry, low sound that seems loud in the quiet. His cloak, heavy with dampness and cold, settles around him like a second skin. The wool is rough, scratching gently against his neck, a sensation that has become dull over the hours. He feels the cold pressing against the outer layers of his clothing. It seeks a way in, probing the seams, testing the weave of the fabric. He can feel the chill resting on his shoulders, a burden he carries without complaint. His gloves are stiff, frozen into the shape of his hands. The leather is hard and unyielding, cold to the touch. Inside the gloves, his fingers are curled, resting against the wooden shaft of his spear. The wood is smooth, polished by years of handling, but it holds no heat. It is as cold as the stone, a lifeless extension of the frozen world. He flexes his fingers slightly, just enough to remind himself they are there. The sensation is distant, as if his hands belong to someone else. There is a dull ache in his joints, the familiar companion of the night watch. It is not a sharp pain, just a deep, abiding stiffness. He looks down at the stone wall before him. Ice has formed in the cracks, expanding the fissures in the mortar. Tiny crystals of frost coat the rough surface, catching the moonlight and throwing back faint sparks of blue and white. He traces the pattern of the frost with his eyes. It is intricate, a chaotic map of frozen water, beautiful and indifferent. The cold touches his face, the only part of him exposed to the night. His nose feels numb, the skin tight and waxy. His cheeks burn with a low, tingling sensation that is slowly fading into a lack of feeling. He blinks, and his eyelashes feel heavy, perhaps laced with the moisture of his own breath. The world is still, so still that time seems to have stopped. There is no past, no future, only this endless, frozen present. The village below the wall is dark. Chimneys stand silhouetted against the snow, but no smoke rises. The fires have burned down to embers. The people are buried under piles of fur and blankets. They are asleep, warm and oblivious to the vigil he keeps. He is alone with the winter. He looks up at the moon again. It has moved, perhaps an inch in the sky, marking the slow passage of the night. A shadow stretches out from the base of the tower. Long and distorted, it lies on the snow like a pool of black ink. The watchman watches the shadow. It does not waver. It is as solid as the wall itself. Far away, somewhere deep in the forest, a branch snaps. The sound is sharp, a gunshot in the silence. It travels clearly through the thin, cold air. The watchman does not startle. He knows the sound. It is the weight of the snow, finally too much for an old limb. He imagines the branch falling, tumbling through the darkness, landing with a soft thud in the deep powder. Then silence returns. The silence rushes back to fill the void, thicker than before. It presses against his ears, a soft roaring of quiet. He takes another breath. The mist rises, swirls, and vanishes. He can feel the cold seeping through the first layer of his wool tunic. It is a slow invasion. It creeps over the fabric, finding the pockets of air trapped between the threads. He adjusts his stance, pressing his boots harder into the stone. The crunch of the frozen grit beneath his soles is satisfyingly gritty. It is a real sound, a sound of substance. He is grounded here. He is part of the wall. He is part of the stone. The cold is not an enemy. It is simply the state of the world. He accepts it. He lets his shoulders drop a fraction of an inch. The tension in his neck releases slightly. There is no need to fight the temperature. Fighting only wastes heat. He stands still, a statue of wool and leather. The frost continues to settle. It falls invisibly from the clear sky, coating the world in another layer of diamond dust. The iron railing of the lookout point is white with it. If he were to touch it with his bare hand, the skin would stick. He keeps his hands in his gloves. He keeps his arms close to his body. He can feel the faint, rhythmic thumping of his own heart. It is a slow drum, beating deep within the layers of clothing. Thump, thump, thump. It is the only clock that matters. The air in front of his face shimmers slightly, a distortion caused by the meeting of his warmth and the night's freeze. He watches the distortion. It is hypnotic. The landscape seems to breathe with him. The snow-covered hills rise and fall with his chest. The shadows lengthen as the moon continues its arc. He is tired, but it is a calm tiredness. It is not the exhaustion of labor, but the weariness of existence. The gravity seems stronger tonight. It pulls at his eyelids. It pulls at the corners of his mouth. It pulls his feet down into the stone. He leans slightly against the merlon of the wall. The stone is hard against his hip, but it offers support. He allows the wall to take some of his weight. The relief is immediate, though subtle. His muscles relax. The cold stone seeps through his cloak, meeting the warmth of his body halfway. They find a balance, a neutral temperature where neither wins. He gazes out at the white expanse again. It is a sea of frozen waves, motionless and vast. The light of the moon reflects off the snow, creating a soft, ambient glow that illuminates nothing in particular. It is a light without source, seemingly emanating from the ground itself. The details of the world are lost in this glow. A bush becomes a vague lump. A fence post becomes a thin, dark line. Everything is simplified. Everything is reduced to its essence. The complexity of the day is gone. There are no colors to distinguish, no movements to track. Just the white, the black, and the gray. The air is so dry it seems to crackle. It draws the moisture from his lips. He runs his tongue over them, tasting the salt of his skin. The moisture freezes almost instantly, leaving a momentary sting. He tucks his chin deeper into his scarf. The wool is scratchy, but it smells of home. It smells of wood smoke and dried herbs, a faint memory of a warmer place. He inhales the scent. It is fading, overpowered by the crisp, clean scent of the snow. But it is there, a tiny anchor in the vast sea of cold. He closes his eyes for a second, just for a heartbeat. Behind his eyelids, the darkness is warm. It is a relief from the glare of the moon on the snow. He opens them again. The world is the same, still, silent, frozen. Nothing has changed. Nothing will change for a long time. The night is young. The frost is deep. The watch continues. He is the watcher. He is the witness to the sleeping world. His breath clouds the air again. White on black, soft on hard, warm on cold. The contrast is the only story being told. He shifts his grip on the spear. The wood is dead in his hands. His feet are heavy blocks. He feels a sense of detachment from his extremities. They are there, but they are far away, connected to him by long, thin wires of sensation. The cold is traveling up those wires. It is a slow signal. Not an alarm, just a notification. The temperature is dropping. The night is deepening. The silence is growing louder. He listens to the silence. It has a texture. It is like thick velvet wrapping around his head. It blocks out the memory of sound. He can barely remember what a bird sounds like, or the sound of rushing water. Those belong to another world, a world of sun and green. This is the world of the moon and the white. He is content here. In the quiet, in the cold, he watches a single snowflake drift down. Just one. It must have formed in the stillness above. It floats down, catching the light, a tiny, perfect star. It lands on his sleeve. He looks at it. It is complex, symmetrical, flawless. It sits there for a moment, a tiny masterpiece of ice. Then, slowly, imperceptibly, it begins to lose its edges. It does not melt, for it is too cold. It simply becomes part of the fabric. It merges with the wool. Another tiny weight added to his burden. He looks back to the horizon. The line between earth and sky is sharp, a razor's edge of black against deep blue. The stars seem to have rotated slightly. The great wheel of the heavens is turning, slowly, inevitably. He turns with it. The earth turns with it. We are all spinning in the dark, wrapped in cold, waiting for the light. But the light is far away, and the dark is here, and it is peaceful, so very peaceful. The cold is a blanket, the night is a cradle, and he is standing watch over the silence, just standing, just breathing, just being. The frost deepens. The stone hardens. The breath flows. And the night goes on. The night does not merely surround him. It presses against him with a gentle, persistent force. He becomes acutely aware of the barrier, that separates his skin from the freezing air. It is a heavy barrier, constructed of layers, each one a testament to survival. The cloak is the outermost shield. It hangs from his shoulders, a massive drape of thick, coarse wool. The weight of it is significant. It pulls downward, a constant, grounding sensation that anchors him to the stone rampart. He feels the burden of the fabric on his trapezius muscles. It is a dull pressure, neither painful nor comfortable, simply present. It feels like a heavy hand resting there, reminding him of his duty. The wool is rough to the touch. Even through the layers beneath, he can sense its coarse texture. It is not the soft wool of a merchant's fine garment. It is raw, sturdy, woven tight to repel the wind and the wet. The fibers are thick, twisted together with strength rather than elegance. Where the collar brushes against his neck, the sensation is abrasive. It scratches gently against the skin just below his jawline. At first, hours ago, this scratching was a distraction. Now, it has become a rhythm. The slight friction with every turn of his head is a confirmation of his enclosure. He tucks his chin down, burying the lower half of his face into the folds of the scarf. The scarf is softer, worn smooth by years of use, but it still holds the scent of the animal. He breathes in through the fabric. The air comes to him filtered, warmed slightly by the mesh of the weave. It smells of lanolin, that deep, oily scent of sheep's wool. It smells of dampness, of rain that fell weeks ago and dried in the sun. It smells of old leather and the faint, lingering trace of wood smoke from the barracks. These scents are the perfume of the watch. They are the smells of warmth in a world of ice. Beneath the heavy cloak, there is a leather jerkin. It is stiff with the cold, a hardened shell that encases his torso. He can feel the rigid edges of it pressing against his ribs when he inhales deeply. The leather creaks softly with the movement of his breathing. It is a sound like the bending of an old book spine. Under the leather, there is another tunic of wool, this one finer, softer. And beneath that, a linen shirt that sits directly against his skin. He is a man of layers. He is a core of heat hidden deep within a fortress of fabric. He shifts his weight from his left foot to his right. The movement causes the layers to slide against one another. He feels the friction of wool on leather. He feels the slide of linen on skin. It creates a muffled rustling sound, like dry leaves shifting in a deep burrow. The sound is contained, absorbed immediately by the heavy outer cloak. Inside this cocoon, the air is different. It is his own private atmosphere. He can feel the pockets of warm air trapped between the layers. They shift as he moves. A pocket of warmth that was resting against his lower back migrates slowly to his side. It is a fleeting comfort, a reminder that his body is still generating heat. He acts as a furnace, burning slowly to keep the fortress warm. But the cold is patient. It presses against the outside of the cloak, seeking a way in. He reaches down with a gloved hand to check his belt. The belt is the seal. It cinches the layers together, trapping the heat around his waist. The leather of the belt is thick and unyielding. He runs his thumb over the buckle. The metal is cold, biting through the glove. He pulls the belt a fraction tighter. The pressure around his waist increases. It feels secure. It feels like a hug that does not let go. The tightening closes a small gap where a draft might have entered. He feels a sense of satisfaction in this small adjustment. The fortress is sealed. The integrity of his warmth is preserved. He drops his hand back to his side. His arm brushes against the side of the cloak. The outer surface of the wool feels alien. It has taken on the temperature of the night. If he were to touch the outside of his cloak with a bare hand, it would feel like touching the snow itself. The moisture in the air has settled on the fine hairs of the wool. It has frozen there, creating a microscopic armor of ice upon the fabric. The cloak has become a hard shell. It is stiff, resisting the fold. When he moves his arm, the fabric does not flow, it bends in angular creases. He can hear the faint crinkle of the frozen fibers. It is a crisp, brittle sound. It contrasts with the soft, warm silence inside the layers. He is carrying the winter on his back. Literally. The frost is accumulating on his shoulders, dusting the dark wool with white. He does not brush it off. There is no point. It will only return. And perhaps the layer of snow adds its own insulation. He imagines himself as a stone in the field, slowly being covered. He imagines the weight increasing ounce by ounce as the frost builds. The heaviness is soporific. It encourages stillness. To move is to lift the weight. To stand still is to support it. Supporting is easier. He lets his shoulders sink further. The cloak settles with him. It drapes down to his ankles, creating a cone of stillness. Around his legs, the wool is thickest. He can feel the hem of the cloak brushing against the tops of his boots. The boots are heavy, leather, bound and hobnailed. But inside the boots, there are socks of thick, knitted yarn. He wiggles his toes. He can feel the yarn scratching against his skin. The sensation is dull, muffled by the distance from his heart. The wool there is compressed by the weight of his body. He feels the texture of the sole of his foot against the flattened wool. It is a sensation of numbness fighting with texture. He focuses on his knees. The cold has found the spot where the cloak parts slightly when he walks. His knees feel cooler than his chest. He adjusts the cloak, pulling the edges together in the front. He overlaps the heavy fabric. He holds it there with his arm, pressing it against his body. The gap is closed. Slowly, very slowly, The warmth begins to reclaim the space around his knees. It is a small victory. The battle is fought in inches. The battle is fought in layers. He is a bundle of cloth standing in the void. The weight of the clothing makes him feel larger than he is. He occupies more space in the night. He feels broad, solid, immovable. The wind, if there were any, would have to work hard to push him. But there is no wind. Only the air, heavy and still. The air presses the clothes against him. He feels the weave of the tunic on his forearms. The sleeves are long, tucked into the gauntlets of his gloves. There is a tight seal at the wrist. He can feel the pulse in his wrist beating against the tight cuff of the glove. It is a slow, rhythmic pressure. The fabric moves slightly with each beat. Tick, tick, tick. The clothing is alive with his own life. It has no warmth of its own, only what he gives it. He is sharing his life with the wool. He wonders about the sheep that once wore this fleece. Did it feel this cold? Did it stand on a hill under this same moon, waiting for the sun? The thought is slow, drifting like the mist. He feels a strange kinship with the animal. They are both creatures of the earth, protected by the same fibers. The smell of the wool seems stronger now. Perhaps the heat of his body is releasing more of the scent. It is a comforting, primitive smell. It blocks out the crisp, metallic smell of the snow for a moment. It reminds him of barns, of haylofts, of sleep. The weight on his shoulders seems to grow slightly. Gravity is pulling at the heavy weave. It pulls the collar down away from his ears. He shrugs, a slow, rolling motion of his shoulders. He pulls the weight back up. He settles it again. The friction of the shrug generates a tiny spark of heat across his upper back. It feels good. It is a fleeting sensation of friction. He lets his arms hang loose. The weight of the sleeves pulls at his elbows. The leather of the jerkin restricts him slightly. It holds him upright. If he were to relax completely, the leather would still hold him in shape. He is supported by his own armor. He relies on the stiffness of the frozen leather. It is a crutch. It allows his muscles to rest just a little. He leans forward, pressing his chest against the stone merlon again. The stone pushes back against the layers. He can feel the hard edge of the rock through the cloak, through the leather, through the wool. It is a distant pressure. The clothing absorbs the sharpness. He is cushioned. He is padded against the world. The stone is cold, but the cold takes a long time to travel through the padding. He counts the layers in his mind. Linen, wool, leather, wool again. 4 walls between him and the night. He feels safe within them. The sensation of the fabric is the only touch he knows right now. He cannot feel the wind, for there is none. He cannot feel the sun. He can only feel the wool. It is a constant embrace. It is a heavy, scratchy, smelly, wonderful embrace. It keeps the life inside. It keeps the death outside. He breathes out, and the chest of the tunic depresses. The layers settle closer to his skin. He breathes in, and they expand. The friction sings its quiet song. Swish, swish, soft, rhythmic, hypnotic. The weight is not a burden anymore. It is a part of him. He has become the weight. He is a creature of wool and leather. Standing watch. The cold touches the surface of the cloak, but it stops there. For now, the frost gathers on the shoulders. The ice hardens the hem. The belt holds tight. The silence continues, and within the mountain of fabric the man breathes, slowly, deeply, warmly. The night waits, the wool protects, and the stillness remains unbroken. The weight of the wool has settled, and now the weight of the night takes over. He leans his body against the rough, uneven surface of the battlements. The stone is no longer just a wall. It has become a companion in this long wait. He trusts his weight to it completely. The hard edge of the masonry presses through his layers, finding the solid line of his hip. It is a grounding sensation. It tells him exactly where he is in the dark. He is here, suspended between the sleeping earth and the waking sky. His posture is one of practiced endurance. He does not stand rigid like a soldier on parade. He stands loose, conserving every ounce of energy. His knees are slightly unlocked, preventing the stiffness from locking his legs. His feet are planted wide, stable on the frosted flagstones. He is a fixture of the architecture. To an observer from the forest, he would be indistinguishable from the merlons of the tower. Just another shadow on the ramparts. Just another silent shape against the stars. He looks out. The view has not changed. It is a landscape locked in a permanent pause. The white of the snow is absolute. It stretches out in every direction, a blanket that smooths the world into gentle undulations. There are no sharp edges out there. The wind has rounded every drift, sculpted every bank into soft curves. The visual monotony is hypnotic. His eyes trace the horizon line, left to right, then right to left. There is nothing to catch the gaze. No movement interrupts the stillness. No fox dashes across the field. No owl swoops down from the trees. The animals are wiser than men. They are deep in their burrows, wrapped in fur and leaves, waiting for the thaw. Only he remains. He lowers his gaze to the village huddled at the foot of the hill. It looks like a collection of toys scattered on a white sheet. The roofs are heavy with snow, their thatched peaks softened into white mounds. The chimneys are dark, silent fingers pointing up. There is no smoke. The fires have been banked hours ago. The village is a dormant creature. He imagines the people inside those small, dark houses. He imagines the slow, rhythmic breathing of families huddled together for warmth. He imagines the heavy quilts, the smell of straw mattresses, the safety of walls. They are unconscious, drifting in the warm dark of dreams. He is the only consciousness for miles. He carries the awareness for them all. It is a strange responsibility, this silent vigil, to be the eyes for those who cannot see, to be the ears for those who cannot hear. But there is nothing to see and nothing to hear. Only the waiting. The waiting is a physical act. It is a state of being. Time does not flow here, it drips, slowly, heavily. He watches a shadow stretching out from a lone pine tree near the gate. The shadow is long, distorted, reaching across the snow like a dark hand. He fixes his eyes on the tip of the shadow. He waits for it to move. He waits for the moon to push it forward. But the movement is too slow for human eyes. It is geological in its pace. If he were to look away for an hour, the shadow might shift a finger's width, but staring at it, it is frozen. The moon hangs above, a silver coin nailed to the velvet sky. It pours its cold light down, indifferent and constant. The light creates a stark contrast on the ramparts. Where the moon hits, the stone is white, almost glowing. Where the moon is blocked, the shadows are pools of absolute black. There is no gray in the shadows tonight. Only the void. He shifts his grip on the wooden staff of his spear. The wood has lost all memory of the forest. It is dead, dry, and cold. His leather gloves wrap around it. The leather stiff and unyielding. He can feel the grain of the wood through the glove, a subtle texture against his palm. The staff feels like a bar of ice. He does not squeeze it. He simply holds it upright, letting it rest against his shoulder. The spearhead glints in the moonlight. A single point of sharp light, trembling slightly with the beat of his heart. He focuses on that point of light. It is a tiny star tethered to the earth. It is the only thing that shines near him. His eyes drift down to the stone immediately in front of him. The frost has been busy. While he stood there, the air has continued to deposit its moisture. Tiny, feathery crystals have grown on the rough granite. They are exquisite structures, growing in silence. He leans in a fraction of an inch to see them better. They look like miniature forests of glass, ferns of ice, flowers of frozen water. They are fragile, yet they are conquering the stone. He breathes out, and his breath washes over the stone. For a second, the crystals blur, softened by the momentary warmth. Then, as the heat dissipates, they sharpen again. Rebuilding. Refreezing. The silence of the post is profound. It is not just a lack of noise. It is a presence. It presses against his ears like water. It fills the space between the atoms of the air. Sometimes he thinks he hears a sound, a whisper, a footstep. But when he holds his breath to listen, there is nothing. It is the sound of his own blood rushing in his ears, the sound of his own existence echoing in the void. He is a statue that breathes, a sentinel of the snow. He lifts his head and looks at the sky again. The vastness of it is overwhelming. So many stars, so much dark. He feels small, insignificant against the scale of the winter night. But he also feels necessary. If he were not here, who would watch the snow? Who would witness the silence? The vigil gives him purpose. It anchors him in the drifting time. He counts the beats of his heart again. 1, 2, 3. Each beat is a second conquered. Each beat is a step towards the morning. But the morning is a distant rumor, a myth told by people who live in the sun. Here, there is only the night, the endless, silent, frozen night. He adjusts his feet again, a microscopic shifting of weight. The snow crunches beneath his boot, a sound so loud it seems to crack the air. Crunch. Then silence. The silence rushes back in to heal the wound. It knits together, seamless and whole once more. He rests his chin on his chest for a moment, resting the muscles of his neck. The scarf bunches up, supporting his head. He looks down at his own shadow. It is a dark puddle at his feet. It is the only thing that belongs to him entirely. Me and my shadow, standing in the cold, waiting for nothing, waiting for everything. The stone wall holds him up. The wool holds him in. The night holds him down. It is a balance of forces, a perfect static equilibrium. He is exactly where he is supposed to be, doing exactly what he is supposed to do. Nothing, just standing, just watching, just waiting. The cold is a constant companion, patient and quiet. It sits beside him on the wall. It stands behind him in the dark. It waits with him. The vigil continues minute by minute, hour by hour, unbroken, unchanging, silent. The silence of the night has now entered the body. It begins at the edges, at the furthest points from the beating heart. The cold is no longer just an atmosphere surrounding him. It is becoming a physical geography within him. He stands grounded on the stone, and the stone is reclaiming its territory. Down in the boots, deep within the layers of leather and wool, the toes have stopped their complaints. For a long time, there was a dull ache, a reminder of the frozen flagstones beneath the soles. But now, that ache has smoothed out. It has faded into a heavy, indistinct quietness. He tries to wiggle his toes inside the thick wool socks. The signal from his mind travels down his legs, through the knees, past the ankles. It reaches the feet, but the response is slow. The movement is muffled, as if his feet are wrapped in layers of thick cotton. He cannot feel the individual toes rubbing against each other anymore. They have merged into a single, solid entity. They feel like smooth stones resting at the bottom of a riverbed. There is no pain in this transition. There is only a gradual withdrawal of sensation. The nerves are going to sleep, one by one, turning off the lights in the lower extremities. The sensation is strangely heavy. It feels as though his boots have turned into blocks of lead. They anchor him even more firmly to the rampart. He is rooting himself into the architecture, becoming part of the foundation. The cold travels up from the soles, inch by inch. It creeps past the ankles, seeking the warmth of the calves. But the wool leggings are there, fighting a silent, static battle. His attention shifts to his hands. They are wrapped around the wooden shaft of the spear. The gloves are thick, made of cured leather that has stiffened in the drop of temperature. He looks at his hands as if they are foreign objects. He wills his fingers to tighten their grip. He watches the leather crease. The movement is sluggish. The leather resists, crackling softly with microscopic ice crystals in the grain. But the resistance also comes from within. His fingers feel thick, swollen with the cold. They do not bend with the fluid grace of the day. They bend like old, dry branches. He can feel the pressure of the wood against his palms, but the texture is gone. He cannot tell if the wood is smooth or rough. He only knows it is there because he sees it. The tactile world is fading. The tips of his fingers are floating in a void inside the glove. There is a tingling sensation, faint and rhythmic. It is like the hum of a distant bee, vibrating just under the skin. Pinpricks of static electricity dancing on the fingertips. Then, even the tingling begins to subside. It leaves behind a profound stillness, a numbness that is absolute. It is a silence of the flesh. He releases one hand from the spear to let it hang by his side. He thinks about rubbing his hands together. He remembers that friction creates heat. He knows the motion palm against palm, vigorous and fast. But the thought seems heavy. It requires too much energy to lift the arms, to bring them together, to generate that speed. The air is too thick to move through. The momentum of the stillness is too great to break. So he lets the hand hang. He lets the fingers curl naturally into a loose claw. They find their own shape, the shape of least resistance. The cold air wraps around the glove, sealing the shape. The numbness is not unpleasant. In a way, it is a relief. The biting sharpness of the wind that was there an hour ago is gone. The stinging of the skin has ceased. Now there is only the dull, heavy comfort of not feeling. The cold is a blanket that numbs the edges of the world. He raises his head slightly. The movement pulls at the skin of his neck. The air touches his face. His nose feels distinct, yet separate from him. It feels tight, the skin pulled taut over the cartilage. If he were to touch the tip of his nose, he wonders if he would feel it. It feels waxy, like the surface of a candle left in a cellar. The sensation extends to his cheeks. They are stiff. When he blinks, he can feel the weight of his own skin. A faint smile tries to form at the thought of the sleeping village. but the smile is slow. The muscles of his face are reluctant to shift. They prefer the mask of stillness. He lets the expression go. It is easier to keep the face neutral. It is easier to let the features rest in repose. The breath he exhales brushes past his upper lip. He can feel the warmth of the air, but he cannot feel the lip itself. The contrast is sharp. Warm air, frozen skin. The boundary between him and the winter is blurring. The cold is no longer stopping at the surface. It is seeping in, a slow, rising tide. It moves through the wrists, past the cuffs of the gloves. It moves through the ankles, past the rim of the boots. It is a gentle invasion. It does not rush. It has all night. It claims the extremities first, drawing the life closer to the center. He imagines his warmth retreating, pulling back from the fingertips, pulling back from the toes, gathering in the chest around the slow drum of the heart. It is a strategic retreat. The body is saving itself, hoarding its treasures. He does not fight it. There is no point in fighting the tide. You simply watch it rise. He feels a sense of detachment from his limbs. His arms hang from his shoulders like heavy ropes. His legs support him like stone pillars. They are tools that have done their work and are now resting. He stares at the back of his glove again. The moonlight catches the grain of the leather. It looks like a landscape of ridges and valleys. He tries to send a signal to his pinky finger. Move, just a little. The finger twitches, a tiny, jerking motion. It takes a second for the command to travel down the frozen wires of his arm. The delay is interesting. It is like shouting into a canyon and waiting for the echo. He decides not to move it again. Let it rest. Let it be still. The numbness brings a quietness to his mind. With less sensory input coming from his hands and feet, there is less to process. The noise of the body is quieting down. The constant stream of information, texture, temperature, position, is drying up. The silence of the snow is mirrored by the silence of the nerves. He feels lighter in his mind, even as his body feels heavier. The heavy wool cloak feels like it is merging with his shoulders. The leather belt feels like it is part of his waist. The boundaries are dissolving. He is becoming a single, solid object, a fixture of the night. He breathes in deeply. The cold air goes down, cooling the core, but the core is still warm. He can feel it, a small, burning ember deep inside the cage of his ribs. But the hands are far away from that ember. The feet are in another country. They are exploring the realm of the ice. They have gone ahead into the freeze. He wonders idly if they are cold. But the word cold implies a feeling. And the feeling is gone, so they are not cold. They just are. They are present in their absence. He leans a little more heavily on the spear. The wood takes the weight. His hand does not complain. His hand is a clamp of frozen iron. It holds without effort. It holds because it has forgotten how to let go. The stiffness is a strength now. It locks him into position. It keeps him upright. If he were soft and warm, he might slump. But the cold holds him together. It acts as a scaffold. He closes his eyes for a moment, focusing on the sensation of his toes. He tries to find them in the dark of his mind. They are faint shadows, echoes of toes. He imagines them resting there, side by side, perfectly still. Wrapped in wool, wrapped in leather, wrapped in night. It is a peaceful image. There is no urgency to wake them up. They are hibernating. The whole body is slowing down to match the pace of the winter. The blood moves slower. The thoughts move slower. The signals move slower. Everything is decelerating, easing into a gentle stop. The frost continues to accumulate on the leather of the gloves. It dusts the knuckles with white powder. He watches the white powder. It looks soft, soft as sugar, soft as sleep. His perception of the cold has changed. It is no longer an external aggressor. It is an internal state. He is becoming the winter. He is becoming the silence. The numbness in his fingertips is just the first step. The first step into the deep, quiet calm. He accepts the stiffness. He welcomes the weight. He stands on the wall, a sentinel of stone and ice, with hands that do not feel, with feet that do not move, with a mind that watches the stillness and finds it beautiful. The tide rises, the feeling fades, the peace deepens, and the watch goes on. Near the stone wall, a few paces from where he stands, there is an iron brazier. It is a heavy, rusted cage on 3 legs, designed to hold the night's warmth. Earlier in the evening, it had been a source of life. The flames had danced high, licking at the cold air with tongues of yellow and orange. They had cast a flickering, animated light against the stones, pushing back the shadows. But the night is long, and the wood is consumed. Now, the fire has entered its own twilight. He turns his head slowly to look at it. The movement of his neck is stiff, the collar of his cloak brushing his jaw. His eyes settle on the dying light. It is no longer a flame, it is a bed of coals. The bright, aggressive orange has softened into a deep, pulsing red. It looks like the slow heartbeat of the earth, exposed and fading. The coals are huddled together at the bottom of the iron cage. They glow with a gentle intensity, radiating a heat that barely reaches his boots. He watches the colors shift. As the heat retreats inward, the surface of the wood turns gray. A fine layer of ash forms on the exterior of the logs. It spreads slowly, like a creeping frost made of dust. It covers the red, muffling the glow. The light it casts is faint now. It no longer illuminates the wall, it only illuminates itself. A small, private sphere of dim red in a world of blue and silver. He feels the absence of the heat more than the heat itself. There is a memory of warmth on his shins, a phantom sensation where the fire used to touch him. But the air between him and the brazier has grown cold. The invisible wall of heat has collapsed. The winter presses in, filling the space where the fire once ruled. There is a pile of cut wood stacked against the rampart. It is close, maybe 5 steps away. He looks at the wood. The logs are split, the grain pale in the moonlight. They are ready. They are fuel waiting to be used. All he has to do is move. He would have to lift his heavy boots, one after the other. He would have to walk those 5 steps. He would have to bend down, fighting the stiffness of his leather jerkin. He would have to take a log in his numb, gloved hand, and he would have to toss it into the cage. He plays the sequence of actions in his mind. It seems like a journey of miles. It seems like a labor of giants. The inertia of his body is a powerful force. He is settled. He is balanced. To move would be to break the seal he has formed with the night. To move would be to disturb the layers of warm air trapped in his wool. He looks back at the coals. They are beautiful in their dying. A single flake of ash detaches itself from a log. It floats up, carried by a weak thermal current. It rises slowly, a gray flake against the dark sky. It wavers, dancing a final, silent dance before the cold air catches it. It cools instantly and drifts down, landing on the snow, a gray speck on the white perfection. The fire makes a sound. It is not a crackle or a roar. It is a soft, metallic ting. The sound of the iron cooling. The sound of the structure settling. Or perhaps a soft hiss as the last drop of sap evaporates from the heart of the wood. It is a whisper of a sound barely audible over the beating of his own heart. He decides to let it sleep. There is a strange mercy in letting the fire die. It has done its work. It is tired, just as he is. Why force it to burn longer? Why demand more from the ash? He feels a sense of kinship with the fading ember. They are both holding on to a small core of heat. They are both surrounded by the vast, indifferent cold. The red glow pulses once, twice. It dims with each pulse. The gray ash thickens. It looks soft, like velvet. It looks like the fur of a sleeping animal. The smoke that rises is thin now. It is a translucent ribbon, rising straight up into the still air. There is no wind to scatter it. It climbs towards the moon, a prayer of smoke. He watches it until it dissolves into the darkness. The smell of the smoke reaches him. It is a familiar scent, the smell of charred oak. But it is faint, lacking the acrid bite of a fresh fire. It is the smell of an ending. The light from the brazier is now so low that the moonlight begins to overpower it. The silver light of the moon reclaims the iron cage. The shadows of the bars stretch out across the snow, crisp and sharp. The red glow is just a suggestion now, a memory of a color. The warmth is gone completely. His boots are cold. The stone under them is cold. The air around his legs is cold. But he does not mind. The fading of the fire brings a kind of symmetry to the scene. Now everything is cold. There is no longer a contest between the fire and the ice. The ice has won, but it is a peaceful victory. The tension is gone. The duality is resolved. The world is uniform again. He watches the last spark. It is a tiny pinprick of orange in the center of the gray pile. It holds on for a long moment. Blinking, fading, it is the last eye of the fire. Then, quietly, without drama, it goes out. The brazier is dark. It is just a silhouette of iron against the snow. The ash is gray. The coals are black. The heat is a ghost. He keeps watching it for a moment longer, giving it a moment of respect, a silent eulogy for the warmth. Then he turns his head back to the horizon. The movement is slow. The view is the same. But now he is truly alone. There is no other light but the stars and the moon. The darkness seems a little closer. The silence seems a little deeper. He is a single point of life in a landscape of statues. He breathes in. The air is colder than before. It lacks the faint trace of warmth the fire had provided. It is pure winter, clean. Sharp, absolute. He accepts this new state. He settles his weight again. The fire is out. The watch continues. The ember has faded, and the night flows on smooth and unbroken. He is the only ember left. Burning slow, burning quiet, under the heavy wool, under the winter sky. With the fire gone, the only rhythm left is his own. The silence of the world has drawn closer, pressing against his chest. He becomes aware of the air not just as a temperature, but as a substance. It feels thicker than it did an hour ago. It has a viscosity, a density that demands effort to move through. He draws a breath. It is a slow, deliberate act. He can feel the muscles of his diaphragm contracting, pulling downwards. He can feel the rib cage expanding, pushing against the resistance of the leather jerkin. The leather is stiff, frozen into a hard shell. It creaks faintly, a sound heard only by him, transmitted through his own bones. The air enters his nose. It is sharp, cleaner than water, drier than sand. It rushes through the nasal passages, cooling the membranes instantly. He can trace the path of the air as it travels down his throat. It is a stream of cold flowing into the sanctuary of his warmth. It fills his lungs, inflating the small sacs with the essence of winter. For a moment, he holds it there. The cold air sits inside his chest, absorbing the heat of his blood. He feels a cooling sensation spreading outwards from his center. It is not unpleasant. It is a refreshing coolness, like a drink of well water on a hot day, but reversed. He is drinking the night. Then the release. He lets the breath go. The exhalation is passive, a collapsing of the chest under the weight of the clothes. The air rushes out, warmer now, carrying the moisture of his life. It passes his lips with a soft, hollow sound. Hoo-ah. It is the sound of the wind in a cave. The mist that forms is dense. It billows out in front of his face, a thick white cloud in the moonlight. It obscures his vision for a second, a personal fog bank. He watches it swirl. It moves slowly, lazy and heavy in the stagnant air. It drifts upwards, thinning out, joining the vast atmosphere. The pause that follows is long. The body does not rush to take the next breath. It waits. It rests in the stillness between the inhale and the exhale. In that gap, the silence is absolute. There is no movement, inside or out. The heart beats, but even that seems to have slowed, matching the rhythm of the breath. He waits. The need for air builds very slowly. It is a gentle nudge, not a demand. He obeys the nudge. He pulls the air in again. The cycle repeats, slower this time, deeper. He becomes fascinated by the mechanics of it. The rise of the shoulders, lifting the heavy cloak. The fall of the shoulders, the cloak settling back down. It is a hydraulic motion. Steady, powerful, unstoppable. The moisture from his breath has begun to settle on his face. It catches on the coarse hairs of his mustache. It clings to the woolen fibers of the scarf wrapped around his chin. In the intense cold, the moisture does not stay liquid. It crystallizes. He feels a stiffness forming around his mouth. Tiny beads of ice are building up, merging into a delicate crust. When he moves his lips, he feels the resistance of this frost. It is a fragile shell that cracks softly with micro sounds. The scarf, once soft and pliable, is becoming hard. The part directly in front of his mouth is a solid plate of frozen wool. It touches his chin, cold and smooth. He does not try to wipe it away. It is just another layer. Another texture in the sensory landscape. The air he breathes in now passes through this frozen filter. It feels even purer, if that is possible. Stripped of all scent, all dust, all impurity. It is the essence of cold. His focus narrows down to this single action. Breathing. The world outside. The snow. The trees. The moon is fading into the background. The foreground is occupied entirely by the rhythm of his lungs. In and out. The sound of his breathing becomes the loudest thing in the universe. It is a rhythmic tide. It sounds like the ocean washing against a distant shore. It sounds like the wind moving through pine needles. It is a hypnotic sound. It lulls him. It creates a trance, like state where thoughts detach and float away. He forgets why he is standing there. He forgets the concept of guarding. He is just a machine that turns oxygen into mist. The heaviness in his chest is comforting. It feels like a heavy hand pressing him down, grounding him. Stay here, it says. Rest, it says. He feels the cold penetrating deeper with each cycle. It is cooling the bronchial tubes. It is cooling the space behind the sternum. The core fire is banking down, just like the brazier. The flames are gone, the coals are glowing, and now the ash is settling. His metabolism is slowing down to a crawl. He is entering a state of hibernation while standing up. The effort to expand his chest seems to grow slightly with every minute. The air feels heavier. The leather feels tighter. But he does not struggle. He adjusts the depth of the breath. He takes shallower breaths, smaller sips of the night. It is enough. He does not need much. The body is efficient. It consumes only what it needs to maintain the stasis. He watches a droplet of moisture fall from the edge of his scarf. It falls in slow motion. It lands on the stone and freezes instantly. A tiny dot of ice. He wonders how many breaths he has taken since the sun went down. Thousands. Millions. It doesn't matter. There are only the breaths remaining. He closes his eyes for the duration of an exhale. The darkness behind his lids is soothing. He listens to the air leaving his body. It is a long, drawn-out sigh. A sigh of release. A sigh of acceptance. When the lungs are empty, he keeps his eyes closed for a second longer, resting in the void. Then he opens them as the inhale begins. The moonlight floods back in, bright and sharp. The contrast between the warm dark inside and the cold light outside is striking. He is a vessel containing two worlds. The inner world is slowing down. The outer world has already stopped. They are coming into synchronization. The rhythm of his breath is the metronome of the night. If he were to stop breathing, would the night stop? It feels like it might. He feels connected to the atmosphere. He is filtering the sky. The coldness on his lips is constant now. He cannot feel the skin of his lips anymore, only the sensation of the air passing over them. The friction of the gas, the turbulence of the flow. He imagines his lungs as two caverns of frost, glittering with ice crystals, silent and beautiful. The thought is abstract, dreamlike. It drifts away before he can examine it closely. The pause between breaths lengthens again. 1 second. 2 seconds. 3 seconds. Silence. Then, the slow intake. The creak of the leather. The rustle of the wool. The rush of the cold. It is a cycle of infinite patience. He feels a profound sense of calm washing over him. It rides on the back of the breath. With every exhale, he pushes out a little more tension. With every exhale, he releases a little more of the day. He is emptying himself, making room for the silence, making room for the sleep. The air is a heavy blanket that he pulls into himself. It fills him up. It weighs him down. It anchors him to the stone. His breath creates a cloud that hangs around his head like a halo of frost. It softens the sharp lines of the moon. It creates a personal atmosphere. He is safe inside his cloud. He is safe inside his rhythm. The heavy breath is a lullaby, singing him to stillness, singing him to peace. The chest rises, the chest falls, the night waits, and the cold deepens, breath by breath. The shivering, which had been a constant, subtle vibration beneath the skin for hours, suddenly ceases. It does not stop gradually, it simply vanishes, like a clock that has wound down to its final tick. The muscles, having been tight and coiled like wet ropes, release their tension all at once. A profound stillness settles over the body, deeper than the stillness of the stone wall. And in this stillness, something miraculous begins to happen. A bloom of heat starts to unfurl deep within the center of the chest. It is not the desperate, clinging warmth he has been hoarding all night. It is a new heat, expansive and generous. It feels as though a small, golden sun has ignited behind the sternum. The sensation is startling at first in its intensity. It radiates outward, moving in slow, heavy waves. It flows up the neck, caressing the throat with a gentle, feverish touch. It flows down the arms, chasing away the numbness in the elbows and forearms. It feels like hot water being poured slowly over a block of ice. The ice does not crack, it simply melts, turning into something soft and fluid. The watchman stands there, blinking slowly, confused by this sudden grace. He wonders, vaguely, if the dawn has come early. He wonders if the sun has risen while he blinked. But the sky is still black, the stars are still cold and distant pins of light. The heat is coming from within. It is a trick of the blood, a final, desperate gift from the body to the mind. But to him it feels like a blessing. It feels like summer returning in the middle of the night. The heavy wool cloak, which had been his shield, now feels oppressive. It presses down on his shoulders with a weight that seems suddenly unnecessary. The layers of trapped air, so carefully preserved, now feel stifling. He feels a prickle of sweat, or the phantom sensation of it. Along his hairline, the scarf wrapped around his face feels rough and suffocating. It is trapping too much heat. It is keeping the summer too close. Slowly, with a movement that feels languid and dreamlike, he raises a hand. The hand is heavy, but it moves with a new ease, lubricated by the illusion of warmth. He finds the fold of the scarf. His fingers, still clumsy and thick, tug at the wool. He pulls the fabric down, away from his mouth, away from his chin. The night air touches his exposed skin. But it does not burn. It does not bite. It feels refreshing. It feels like a cool breeze blowing off a lake on a humid afternoon. He tips his head back slightly, exposing his throat to the winter. The air washes over his skin, cooling the phantom fever. It is a delicious sensation, a perfect contrast. He sighs, and the sound is not a shudder, but a sound of contentment. The breath leaves him easily, joining the night without a struggle. He feels a desire to open the cloak, to let the cool air reach his chest. His fingers fumble with the clasp for a moment. The metal is cold, but it doesn't register as pain. It just feels solid. He manages to undo the top latch. The cloak falls open slightly at the neck. A wedge of cold air slips inside. It meets the radiating heat of his body and neutralizes it. Balance. He feels perfectly balanced. Neither hot nor cold. Just right. He looks out at the snow-covered field again. The landscape seems to have changed its character. Before, it was a hostile expanse of frozen iron. Now, it looks soft. The snowdrifts look like piles of white feathers. They look like clouds that have fallen to earth to rest. They look inviting. The sharp edges of the shadows have blurred. The world seems to be viewed through a lens of soft gauze. The whiteness glows with a gentle inner light, beckoning. It whispers of comfort. It whispers of a softness that would mold to his body. He imagines lying down in that white softness. It would be like sinking into a deep down mattress. The thought is incredibly seductive. Why stand on the hard stone when the soft snow is right there? Why hold up the weight of the body when the earth is ready to hold it for you? A smile drifts onto his face. It is a slack, easy smile. The stiffness in his cheeks has gone. His face feels relaxed, smoothing out the lines of worry and vigilance. He feels a strange sense of euphoria bubbling up in his mind. It is a light, airy feeling, like being slightly drunk on warm wine. The anxiety of the watch has evaporated. The fear of the frost has vanished. There is no enemy here. There is only the peaceful night. He feels a deep affection for the cold. It is not a monster, it is a friend. It is a blanket waiting to be pulled up. He leans further over the parapet. The stone is no longer cold to the touch. It feels neutral, merging with his hand. He looks down at the drop. It doesn't look far. It looks like a short step into a soft embrace. His mind wanders away from the duty. The village, the fire, the captain. They are all very far away. They belong to a world of sharp edges and loud noises. He is in the world of soft silence. The heat in his chest pulses again, a gentle surge of comfort. It makes him feel heavy in a pleasant way, like he is made of warm honey. He wants to close his eyes and just enjoy the sensation of the heat. He wants to bask in it. He loosens the belt around his waist just a fraction. The leather jerkin expands. He takes a deep breath, filling his lungs with the cool breeze. It tastes sweet. It tastes like clear water. He chuckles softly, a dry, raspy sound that barely disturbs the air. He is so warm. It is funny, he thinks. Everyone worries about the cold. But there is no cold. There is only this golden feeling. This heavy, wrapping warmth. He feels his legs beginning to buckle slightly, not from weakness, but from a desire to yield. To yield to the gravity. To yield to the comfort. He straightens up with a slow, wavering effort. Not yet, he tells himself. But the voice is faint. The command is weak. The persuasion of the warmth is much stronger. He rubs his chest through the open tunic. The skin feels hot to the touch, or perhaps his hand is so cold that his skin feels hot. It doesn't matter. The sensation is heat. He is a furnace in the night. He looks up at the moon. It looks like a pale sun. It looks like it is smiling at him. It is a fine night, he thinks. A fine, warm night. The illusion is complete. The body has rewritten the reality to make the end acceptable, to make the transition gentle. He stands there, half unbuttoned, smiling at the winter. The mist of his breath is no longer a cloud of concern. It is just a rhythmic decoration. He feels a profound sense of safety. Nothing can hurt him now. He is insulated by the fire inside. The warmth moves into his head, making his thoughts slow and syrupy. Memories begin to bleed into the present. The edges of the rampart seem to dissolve. He is just a point of consciousness floating in a warm bath. The wind, which is not blowing, seems to stroke his hair. He pulls the glove off his right hand. He wants to feel the air on his skin. The glove drops to the stone, a dull thud. He doesn't look down. He lifts his bare hand and looks at it. It is pale, white as the snow, but it feels warm. He flexes the fingers. They move slowly, like they are moving through water. He touches his face with the bare hand. The skin is cold, but the hand feels hot. The confusion is total. The confusion is peaceful. He rests his bare hand on the cold stone. It feels like resting it on a cool pillow. He stays like that for a long time, enjoying the contrast, enjoying the relief. The false summer holds him in its arms, lulling him, soothing him, preparing him for the final rest. The frost gathers on his open tunic. The ice crystals form on his eyelashes. But he does not feel them. He only feels the golden glow, the beautiful, terrible warmth, the heat of the end. He closes his eyes just for a moment to savor it, and the darkness behind his lids is bright with colors, swirling oranges and yellows, the colors of the hearth, the colors of home. He is ready to go there. The warmth is leading the way. The darkness behind his eyes is not black. It is a deep, resonant gold. It pulses gently, expanding with every slow beat of his heart. The golden light grows brighter, dissolving the shadows of the rampart. It washes away the gray stone and the white snow. The cold silence of the winter recedes, replaced by a low, rhythmic humming. He opens his eyes, or perhaps he only thinks he does. The world has changed. The stone under his feet has turned into dry, packed earth. It is warm, radiating a stored heat that seeps up through his soles. He looks down and sees that the snow is gone. In its place, there is a sea of gold. Wheat, tall, ripe, golden wheat stretching out to the horizon. The stalks stand shoulder high, heavy with grain, bowing their heads in a silent prayer. They are not frozen, they are swaying. A warm breeze moves through the field, creating waves of amber that roll endlessly away from him. The sound is a soft rustle, a dry whisper of stalk against stalk. Swish. Swish. It is the sound of the earth breathing in the heat. Above him, the sky is no longer a dome of obsidian night. It is a brilliant, piercing blue, azure, cerulean, infinite. There is not a single cloud to mar the perfection of the color. And there, high in the center of the blue, is the sun. It is a massive disk of white, hot fire. It pours its light down onto him like a physical weight. He feels the sun pressing against his shoulders. It is a heavy blanket-like heat that penetrates deep into his muscles. The phantom warmth he felt earlier has now found its source. He tilts his face up to the sky. The light is dazzling, forcing him to squint against the glare. He feels the heat touching his cheeks, his nose, his forehead. It is a dry, baking heat. The kind of heat that slows time down. The kind of heat that makes the air shimmer above the ground. He watches the heat haze dancing over the tops of the wheat. It distorts the distance, turning the horizon into a watery mirage. He takes a deep breath. The air is no longer thin and icy. It is thick, heavy with the scent of dust and pollen. It smells of dry grass and baking earth. It smells of life at its peak. He can taste the dust on his tongue. It is a familiar, gritty taste. The taste of harvest time. He licks his lips, and they taste of salt and sun. Somewhere near his feet, a cricket begins to sing. Chirp, chirp, chirp. It is a dry, repetitive sound, the metronome of the afternoon. Another cricket answers from further away. Then another. The air is filled with the buzzing chorus of invisible insects. It is a wall of sound, but it is not noisy. It is a comforting drone, a lullaby of the high summer. He reaches out his hand. In reality, his hand is numb, frozen in a claw shape. But in the memory, his fingers are long and brown from the sun. He brushes his hand against the heads of the wheat. He can feel the rough texture of the husks. He can feel the dry prickle of the beard. The sensation is incredibly vivid. The grain flows through his fingers like water. He is walking now, or drifting. He is moving through the field without effort. The wheat parts before him and closes behind him. He is swimming in gold. He feels a sense of absolute freedom. There is no armor on his chest. The heavy leather jerkin is gone. He is wearing a simple linen tunic, loose and light. The fabric flutters against his skin in the warm breeze. He feels the air circulating around his ribs. It feels soft, like a lover's touch. He is young again, or perhaps timeless. The weight of the years has dropped away with the winter. He stops walking and stands still in the center of the field. The sun beats down on the top of his head. It feels like a warm hand resting there. He feels drowsy. The heat makes his eyelids heavy. The buzzing of the crickets is hypnotic. It calls him to lie down, to sink into the earth, to rest amongst the stalks. He remembers a taste. Honey. Thick, golden honey on a slice of warm bread. The memory is so strong he can almost feel the stickiness on his fingers. He can taste the sweetness, cloying and rich. It is the taste of a stolen afternoon snack, eaten in the shade of a lone oak tree. He looks around for the tree. There it is in the distance, a giant green mushroom against the blue sky. Its leaves are dark and lush, offering a pool of deep shade. He wants to go there. He wants to lie in the shade and listen to the wind in the leaves. But the walk seems long, and the sun is so warm right here. Why move? Why go anywhere? The field is enough. The light is enough. He closes his eyes in the memory. The sun turns his vision red behind his eyelids. A warm, glowing red. He feels the sweat trickling down his back. A slow, lazy trickle. It is a good feeling. It proves he is alive. It proves he is warm. The wind picks up slightly. The wheat hisses softly. It sounds like the sea, a golden ocean. He sways slightly on his feet, mimicking the motion of the grain. He is part of the field. He is rooted in the soil. His feet are bare. He can feel the dry crumbles of dirt between his toes. He can feel the hardness of the baked clay. The earth supports him. It pushes back against his weight with a warm solidity. The winter is a forgotten dream, a nightmare that has dissolved in the morning light. There is no snow. There is no ice. There is no darkness. Only this endless, burning noon. He feels a profound sense of peace. The kind of peace that only comes on a hot day when the work is started. Or before the work has started. It is the pause in the middle of the day. The siesta of the world. Everything is resting. The birds are silent, hiding in the cool of the branches. The dogs are sleeping under the porches. The world has stopped to breathe, and he is stopping with it. The connection between his mind and his body is thinning. The frozen reality of the rampart is fading into a ghost. The stone wall feels like the rough bark of the oak tree. The cold air feels like the cool shade. His mind reinterprets every signal. Pain becomes heat. Numbness becomes relaxation. Stiffness becomes rest. He smiles. A true, deep smile that starts in his chest. He is happy. He is home. The summer has returned to claim him. He watches a butterfly flit across his vision. It is yellow, the same color as the wheat. It dances erratically, light as air. It lands on a stalk of grain near his face. It opens and closes its wings, slowly, rhythmically, like a tiny fan. He watches it with intense fascination. It is the most beautiful thing he has ever seen. It is a spark of life in the static heat. The butterfly takes flight again, drifting up towards the blue. He follows it with his eyes. Up and up, into the blinding light of the sun. His vision blurs. The blue and the gold merge into a wash of white light. Soft edges, glowing forms. The buzzing of the crickets deepens. It becomes a lower tone, a hum, a vibration that resonates in his bones. He feels his knees unlocking. He is sinking down, not falling, just lowering himself towards the warm earth. The wheat rises up to meet him. It embraces him. The stalks are like arms, golden, dry, warm arms. They catch him. They hold him up. He is floating in the grain, suspended in the summer. The smell of the dust is stronger now, earthy and ancient. He breathes it in deeply. It fills his lungs with the scent of the sun. He feels the warmth wrapping around him completely. A cocoon of light. There is no more outside. There is only the heat. He lets his head fall back. The sky spins slowly above him, a carousel of blue. He is safe here. Nothing can touch him in the summer field. The cold cannot find him here. The night cannot find him here. He is hidden in the memory, buried in the gold. The sun kisses his face one last time, a gentle, burning kiss. Sleep, the wind whispers. Sleep, the crickets chirp. Sleep, the wheat rustles. The afternoon is eternal. The sun will never set. He is suspended in the perfect moment, the moment of total warmth, the moment of total rest. The memory holds him tight, and he lets go of everything else. The golden light of the summer memory begins to soften. It does not fade into blackness, but rather settles into a warm, amber glow. The vividness of the wheat field retreats, leaving behind only the sensation of its weight. The heaviness is no longer in the air. It has moved into his own body. It centers itself in his face, specifically around his eyes. His eyelids feel incredibly thick. They feel as though they are made of heavy, crushed velvet. They droop downwards, pulled by a gravity that feels stronger than the earth's. He fights to keep them open, but it is a token struggle. The muscles that hold his eyes open are tired. They are small, weak things against the power of the sleep that is coming. He blinks. The motion is agonizingly slow. The upper lid comes down like a theater curtain at the end of a long play. It touches the lower lid. There is a moment of darkness, a moment of relief. Then, with great effort, he lifts the curtain again. But the world he sees is no longer sharp. The view from the rampart has lost its definition. The moon is no longer a crisp circle. It is a smear of silver paint on a dark canvas. The stars above have stopped being points of light. They are stretching out. They look like long, thin streaks of chalk drawn across the sky. They are blurring, vibrating, dancing in his vision. He tries to focus on a single tree in the distance. He squints, trying to bring the edges back into alignment. But the tree refuses to be solid. It splits into two, then three, then dissolves into a vague shadow. His eyes are watering, not from sadness, but from the cold and the fatigue. The tears are thick and slow. They do not fall. They pool in the corners of his eyes. adding a prism effect to the world. Everything is refracting. Everything is bending. The straight lines of the stone wall are curving. The horizon is tilting gently to the left. He feels a wave of dizziness, but it is a soft, rocking dizziness. It feels like being in a small boat on a calm lake, rocking, rocking. His head feels enormous. It feels too heavy for his neck to support. The muscles at the back of his neck are lengthening, relaxing, giving up the tension. His chin begins to descend. It moves slowly, inch by inch, towards his chest. He is bowing to the night. He is nodding to the silence. He tries to lift his head back up. He manages to raise it a few inches. He sees the blurred moon again. But the effort is unsustainable. The head drops again. Heavier this time. It settles. His chin finds a resting place on the thick wool of his scarf. The wool is stiff with frost, but to him it feels like a pillow. It supports the weight of his skull. The pressure on his neck vanishes. Ah, that is better. That is much better. He is looking down now, looking at his own boots. Though he cannot really see them, he sees only the dark shapes of his own body. The perspective has shifted. The world has narrowed down to the space between his chin and his chest. The urge to close his eyes again is overwhelming. It is a physical hunger. His eyes burn with the need for darkness. The light of the moon, even blurred, feels too bright. It feels abrasive against his retinas. He wants the amber dark back. He wants the summer back. Just for a moment, a voice whispers in his mind. It is his own voice, but it sounds distant, like an echo in a canyon. Just rest your eyes for a moment. The snow is not going anywhere. The wall will stand without you watching it. Just a blink. He listens to the voice. It sounds reasonable. It sounds kind. Why fight the body? The body knows what it needs. It needs to shut out the light. He lets his eyelids fall again. This time, he does not try to lift them immediately. He lets them stay closed. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. The relief is instantaneous. A wave of pleasure washes over his scalp. The tension behind his forehead dissolves. The darkness is not empty. It is textured. It is filled with soft, swirling shapes, phosphenes of purple and gold. They rotate slowly, mesmerizing him. He watches the light show on the back of his eyelids. It is better than the stars. It is warmer than the moon. He feels his body settling deeper into its stance. He is leaning heavily on the stone merlon now. His chest is pressed against the rock. The spear is wedged under his arm, acting as a third leg. He is a tripod of wood and bone. Stable. Secure. He will not fall. He is wedged into the architecture. The snow has piled up around his boots, cementing him in place. He is part of the wall now. He feels safe. The fear of falling asleep on watch is gone. That fear belongs to the awake world. Here, in the borderland, there is only safety. He convinces himself that he is still listening. I am just resting my eyes, he thinks. I can still hear. But the hearing is fading too. The silence is wrapping him in cotton wool. The wind is a distant memory. The only sound is the slow, thumping rhythm of his own blood. It sounds like a lullaby. Thump, thump, thump. It slows down. The spaces between the beats get longer. He waits for the next beat and waits. There it is. Soft. Reassuring. His breathing has become shallow and even. He doesn't need to think about it anymore. It happens on its own. The cold air enters. The warm mist leaves. A perfect, automatic cycle. He feels a heaviness in his limbs that is almost magnetic. His arms feel like they are made of iron. They hang by his sides, immovable. If he wanted to lift his hand now, he is not sure he could. The connection is broken. The telegraph lines are down, but he doesn't want to lift his hand. He is perfectly content to be heavy. He enjoys the weight. It feels like a thick blanket has been thrown over him. A weighted blanket of sleep. It presses him down, holding him safe. He drifts. His thoughts become slippery. They slide away before he can catch them. He thinks about the fire. No, that was a long time ago. He thinks about the wheat. Yes, the wheat. The golden wheat. It is coming back. He can see the glow through his eyelids. The sun is rising in his mind. He feels a sudden jerk. His head slips a fraction of an inch on the scarf. A tiny spasm of the neck muscles. Startled, he opens his eyes halfway. A slit of moonlight enters. A slit of cold reality. He sees the gray stone. He sees the white frost. I am awake, he mumbles. But the words are trapped inside his mouth. His lips do not move. The thought is weak. It lacks conviction. The eyelids are too heavy. They are made of lead now. They slide shut again, irresistibly, inevitably. He cannot hold them up. It is too much work. And for what? To see the same snow. To see the same dark. The darkness inside is so much more interesting. So much more inviting. He surrenders. He stops fighting the gravity. He lets the curtain fall and stay down. Click. The latch is closed. The world is shut out. He is alone in the private theater of his mind. The darkness deepens. It turns from purple to a deep, velvety black. It feels like sinking into a soft feather bed. Down, down, down. He feels a sense of falling, but it is a gentle falling. Like a leaf drifting from a tree. Floating on the air, rocking back and forth, landing softly on the ground. He is resting, truly resting. The conscious mind is unhooking its anchors, one by one. The anchor of duty, the anchor of cold, the anchor of time. They all slip loose. He is drifting free. He feels a profound sense of gratitude for the sleep. It is a gift. It is the only thing he wants. Just for a minute, he thinks again. But he knows, somewhere deep down, that it will be longer than a minute. And he doesn't care. It is too nice. Too warm. too soft. He adjusts his shoulders slightly against the stone, finding the perfect groove. The stone hugs him back. The night holds him close. He is a child in a cradle. The stars are the mobiles spinning above him. The snow is the sheet. He is safe. He is warm. He is sleeping. The last sliver of awareness watches the darkness. It sees the peace. It embraces the silence. The eyelids are sealed. The watch is over. The dream begins. The deep, deep dream, where the winter can never touch him again. He breathes out. A long, slow, final sigh of the waking world, and he descends into the velvet, into the quiet, into the dark. The transition is seamless. There is no sudden break, no jarring edge where the waking ends and the sleeping begins. There is only a gentle dissolving. The physical body, which has been a heavy anchor all night, finally lets go of its weight. It does not feel heavy anymore. It feels weightless. The sensation of the stone wall against the shoulder fades away. The pressure of the boots on the flagstones disappears. The restriction of the leather and the scratch of the wool vanish. He is no longer contained by the clothes or the armor. He is expanding. He is drifting out past the boundaries of his skin. The cold, which had been a biting intruder, has transformed. It is no longer a temperature. It is a texture. It is a smooth, cool surface that he slides across. It is a vast, quiet ocean that holds him up. He feels a profound sense of unity with the winter. He is not fighting the snow. He is the snow. He is not watching the night. He is the night. The separation between the watcher and the watched has been erased. The silence inside his head is absolute. It is a beautiful, clean silence, like a room that has been swept of all dust and furniture. There are no more thoughts to clutter the space. No worries about the dawn. No memories of the fire. No questions. Just the hum, a soft, white hum that vibrates at the very edge of perception. It sounds like the air itself is singing a low, single note. It is the sound of the earth sleeping. His breathing has become so shallow that it is indistinguishable from the air around him. There is no longer a cloud of mist. The air flows in and out, a tiny, delicate tide. It moves without effort. It moves without sound. The heart, that faithful drum, beats its final slow rhythm. Thump, long pause. Thump, longer pause. It is not stopping, it is just resting. It is joining the stillness of the stones. It is synchronizing with the slow rotation of the stars. He feels a sense of immense gratitude for this stillness. It is the rest he has been waiting for his entire life. It is the peace that sits at the center of the storm. He is there now, in the eye, in the quiet. The darkness behind his eyes is no longer a void. It is a presence. It wraps around him like a soft, dark blanket. It is a comfort that goes down to the bone. He feels himself settling, not falling, but settling. like a snowflake finally finding its place on the drift, landing softly, listing slightly, stopping. He is a statue of ice and wool, etched against the moonlight. To the world, he is a sentry standing guard, a silhouette on the ramparts, immovable, eternal. But inside, he is free. He is floating in the golden summer of his mind. He is walking in the wheat. He is sleeping in the shade. The last flicker of consciousness is like a candle flame in a windless room. It stands tall and straight. It burns with a pure, white light. Then, slowly, it begins to lower. It dims. Smaller, smaller. A single point of light, a single point of existence. And then gently it merges with the dark. The light does not go out. It becomes the dark. The wave returns to the ocean. The breath returns to the wind. The watcher becomes the silence. There is no pain. There is no cold. There is only the sleep. The deep, dreamless, endless sleep. The frost continues to grow on the cloak. The moon continues its arc across the sky. The shadows lengthen and fade, and the silence remains, perfect, unbroken, complete. The torches flicker. The corridor quiets. A gentle breeze brushes the stones. The story has come to its rest, and the night has fully settled. The weight has been lifted, and the stillness is yours to keep. Now take a deep breath, and may you have a peaceful sleep.